And then we have this discourse on socially appropriate behavior. And I must say, Jesus, as a first century Emily Post, is not all that appealing. He sounds a little harsh and a little critical, especially when he turns on his host. If that's all we have here, I'd be questioning the wisdom of the monks who created the lectionary. But this combination is really quite brilliant. And here's why. In Jeremiah, we have God, in effect, filing the lawsuit against the Jews. In any lawsuit, it is necessary to show your damages. Jesus presents the high cost of idolatry in human terms. So how does idolatry show up in damages to human beings? Isn't God the aggrieved party here? In order to prevail in the lawsuit, you must estimate and itemize your damages. And remember that the defendant is the Jewish legal system in both the Old Testament case and as Jesus steps up to the plate. God has over and over again in the Old Testament charged the Jews with failure to keep the spirit of the law while keeping the letter of the law impeccably. And Jesus is coming to dinner with a group of Pharisees who are watching him closely to see just how well he keeps that letter of the law. But when we live by the letter of the law, we create collateral damage all around us, and we are most often hoist on our own petard. Since the story of the healing of the man with dropsy is dropped in this particular version of the lectionary, I'll simply point out that Jesus is illustrating the case against the legal system. If you keep the letter of the law without the spirit of the law, without the heart of God at the heart of the law, people will die. It's as simple as that. Jesus is reminding them that the law, as a law unto itself, is destructive for human relationships. It leads to abuse, divisiveness, and brutality. My mother-in-law is fond of relating how her father, who was Judge Theodore S. Slen of Lac Qui Parle County in Minnesota, would impress upon his children the virtue of humility. It was indoctrinated into them that they were never to let other people think that his children thought they were better than anyone else. It seems to me that if you have to impress the virtue of humility on your children, then perhaps none of you has it. If you have to remind yourself not to act like you think you're better than other people, you probably think you're better than other people. And Judge Slen was an upright, virtuous, and admirable man. But he could also be stern and harsh. The law without the Spirit of God at the heart is always stern and harsh. It is when we forget that others are beloved of God and deserving of our respect that we allow ourselves to mistreat other human beings. And this brings us to Hebrews. The outline of what it looks like to treat other people as though they were created in the image of God is found in that beautiful Hebrews passage. Just like those girls mistreated me in the 7th grade, these mistreatments can be insignificant or they can be horrific. Either way, all of these things flow from idolatry. True humility, the kind that Jesus is talking about and the kind that is outlined in the Hebrews passage, arises out of a heart that loves others as we are loved. We don't have to like one another to love one another. If you truly regard your neighbor as God regards him or her, you will not see yourself as superior or inferior to them. That you might entertain angels unaware is a fact. God alone knows who people are at the heart. And the heart is what this lawsuit is all about. The kind of social order Jesus is talking about arises from the heart. Because you see, Jesus isn't addressing table manners in our passage today. All the dinner party rules he mentions are merely representations of a larger issue. organizing our lives and relationships according to social status and appearance. So what's so bad about that? Don't we all like to name drop? Don't we all like to be associated with famous and or successful people? Isn't success that is the product of hard work and dedication something to be admired? Jesus would say it is, but it's not to be worshipped. And it is not the basis of how we treat one another. At the heart of the distinction is the high cost of idolatry. Respect and dignity are due each and every one of us. Admiration is personal. And I have certain people I admire more deeply than others, and that's fine. But I can never lose track of the fact that none of us is standing on a ladder. We are to look to one another for support and inspiration, but we are not to see ourselves as more on the rings of a ladder. We are to see ourselves on the rings of Saturn. We are in that slim disk that radiates around and circles around the center, which is God. And we are all on a flat surface as it rotates. We're not moving up and down. This is true social organization. We share our banquets with one another, with the rich and the poor alike, and we allow the host, we allow God to order the seating. This social order arises out of hearts in relationship with Jesus Christ, and it is the only antidote for the pain and the suffering of idolatry. So to what idols do you turn? Which idols do I use to satisfy my need for instant gratification? Do I even know all of their names? I think not. It's a question we should all ask every day of our lives. If we hold that thought, even in our 1-minute memories, perhaps we can avoid the high cost of idolatry in our own lives. Amen.